Toss that gift on the floor. This party isn't for people we erased. Mom snapped the moment I walked in early with a $20,500 gift in hand. You really thought showing your worthless face here would undo decades of being a failure? My dad didn't even look at me. You're not our son. You're a stain we scrubbed out years ago. My sister giggled. Bet he thinks this gift buys forgiveness. Pathetic. I smiled coldly. Then starve without the son you buried. I canceled the flowers, froze their joint account, and exposed their lies on a loudspeaker mic. Then the photographer's camera flashed. Right as Dad screamed, Mom broke down and half the room gasped. Chaos, just how I planned it. Toss that gift on the floor. This party isn't for people we erased. Mom snapped, her voice cutting through the classical string music like a slap. I'd barely crossed the threshold, silver-wrapped box still in my hands, $2,500 worth of gilt-wrapped olive branch, when Dad turned away from the hors d'oeuvres table without so much as a glance. You really thought showing your worthless face here would undo decades of being a failure? She spat. My sister giggled from behind her champagne flute. Bet he thinks this gift buys forgiveness. Pathetic. Their words hit like trained punches, practiced, perfected, but they didn't knock me down this time. I just stood there, silent, watching, letting them finish their performance, and then I smiled, coldly, deliberately. Then starve without the son you buried. My name is Daniel, and I've had enough. I'm Daniel Holloway, 25. Technically still breathing, though my family would argue otherwise. I've been called a screw-up, a disappointment, a mistake with a social security number. But I've survived foster care, homelessness, therapy, and 4 suicide attempts. Now I wear survival like armor. Tonight wasn't about redemption. It was about remembrance. Of the boy they buried without a funeral. And of the man who came back to haunt them. I used to believe families fought and healed. But some families, some bury the truth, then blame the corpse when it refuses to stay down. Meet the Holloways. Careful, they bite. Patricia Holloway, mom, 63. Sharp-tongued, manicured social ladder climber. She's the kind who smiles for church photos and curses under her breath when the flash goes off. She says I embarrassed her, that I chose to be a failure. Gerald Holloway, dad, 66. Retired Army logistics officer, stoic, stone-faced. He stopped calling me son when I was 17, when the DUI wasn't mine, when the bank loan wasn't mine, when the damage was, apparently, always mine. Amanda Holloway, sister, 29. Picture perfect, daddy's princess. She stole my college fund and used it for her 3rd wedding. When I confronted her, she said, "You wouldn't have used it anyway. You were always too weak." And me? I was the ghost they kept locked in the basement, until tonight. The fuse was already lit. The party was for Amanda, some promotion or engagement or both. I wasn't invited, but the card from the law firm said they'd settled the wrongful inheritance transfer. My name was on the check, and the flash drive in my pocket held the evidence. I walked in with the gift just to watch their masks crack, every glass clink, every fake congratulations, every smug look. It was all gasoline waiting for a spark. Tonight, I wasn't their failure. I was their reckoning. You know the worst thing about betrayal? It doesn't kill you. It leaves you alive, bleeding slow in the dark, still expected to smile at family dinners. It starts like this. A 15-year-old kid sits cross-legged on a twin mattress in a room that smells like old books and lemon polish. He's just come back from Grandma Holloway's house. She hugged him tight, kissed his forehead, and whispered, "I left you something for your future, sweetheart. So when the world turns mean, you'll have a little light to walk toward." That light? A trust fund, $45,000, set aside, just for me, college, rent, safety. I never saw a dime. It unraveled slowly, like thread from a sweater I didn't know was unraveling. The letter from the lawyer came first. 6 years too late, an audit request, tied to the name Daniel Holloway. I called the firm. They said I'd signed the release back in 2017, but I hadn't. I was working night shifts at a mechanic shop in Roanoke then, too broke to afford gas, let alone legal services. I requested the documents. There it was. My signature. Looped, perfect, forged. Amanda had always been good at copying things. Homework, identities, truths. Patricia knew. The document had her initials in the margin. And Dad? He signed off as a joint parental authority. One sentence, one signature, one moment that erased my future and handed it to my sister's third wedding budget. But that was just the prelude. The real storm came 3 years ago. I was working towards something again. A second attempt at night school. Minimum wage by day, textbooks by night, microwave dinners on the floor of a one-room sublet. And then came the calls. First, an unfamiliar number, then 2, then 20. Debt collectors, relentless, ruthless. They had my name, my address, my birth date. They even had my father's phone number listed as a co-signer. Turned out, Gerald Holloway, army man, honor-bound hypocrite, had co-signed a raw 96,000 rye small business loan, in my name. Predatory interest, fake projections. He never told me. And when I confronted him, voice shaking, hands trembling, documents in hand, he had the gall to look bored. Clerical confusion. He said, "It's not a big deal." Not a big deal. I couldn't even open a savings account. My credit score was lower than Amanda's self-awareness. When I asked for help, begged really, the responses were like gunshots. Man up. You're lucky we still acknowledge you. Maybe if you weren't so dramatic. That's when something shifted in me. Some internal wire, some fragile hope I'd been nursing like a wounded bird, snapped. I stopped asking. I started collecting. Every voicemail, every bank statement, every email forwarded by mistake. The night Amanda left a drunken rant on my voicemail. I mean, whatever. I used his name. It's not like he'd use it. I saved it. I taught myself spreadsheets and timestamps. I learned how to trace IPs. I learned how to encrypt files, how to upload backups in the cloud, how to protect myself like a man digging his own legal trench. I stopped being their ghost, and I became their historian. The flash drive in my pocket that night at the party wasn't just plastic and silicon. It was a tombstone for the lies, for the silence, for the family they claimed to be. The Holloways wanted me buried, but I came back with receipts. The flashback I tried to forget. 4 years ago, January. The kind of cold that seeps into your marrow and makes even your bones feel betrayed. My old Corolla had died on I-85 somewhere between nothing and nowhere. I didn't have AAA. I didn't have friends nearby. I barely had a jacket. But I had one thing, my father's address memorized. I walked. For 7 miles. Through sleet. Through cold so sharp it felt personal. I was soaked, my shoes making that awful squelch with every step. Hands in my pockets, head low, just praying, not even for warmth, just for dignity. I remember rehearsing what I'd say. "Hey, Dad, car broke down, just need a couch tonight, I'll be gone by morning." Even imagined him nodding, maybe grunting, maybe offering a towel. Reality was crueler. He opened the door, saw me, and closed it. No words, no hesitation, no confusion, just dismissal. I stood there for 5 minutes, maybe more, frozen, literally, figuratively. Mom was inside. I saw her in the window, swirling wine like she was auditioning for a perfume ad. She turned her head, made eye contact, then turned away. Amanda's Jeep was in the driveway. I saw her silhouette laughing at something on her phone. Probably a meme about mental health. Probably something she sent to a group chat I was never part of. That night, I slept behind a gas station dumpster. Wrapped myself in plastic bags I found in the bin. Woke up coughing blood into a paper towel. A week later, I was in the hospital. The nurse said, "Your emergency contact didn't answer, but we got a hold of your parents." I smiled. For a second, I actually smiled. Then she said, "They told us they don't have a son. Something in me broke that day. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet, like a bridge collapsing underwater. Present day, back to the party. The moment the air turned to ice, Mom had just hissed her venom. Amanda had giggled. Dad had turned away like I was a stain on his carpet. So I reached into my jacket, pulled out my phone, connected it to the venue's Bluetooth sound system. The DJ, bless his oblivious heart, hadn't secured it. I tapped the screen. Let's take a walk down memory lane. I said, click, play. Amanda's voice filled the air, nasal and slurred. I mean, whatever. I used his name. It's not like he'd do anything with that money. Danny's always been weak. That fund was better off with me. Gasps, eyes widened, glasses paused midair. Then Gerald's voice. Just get the kid out of the picture. He's a liability. I'll sign whatever. Just make sure it doesn't blow back. People turned, chairs creaked, a fork clattered to the floor. Amanda went pale. Mom looked like she'd seen God. Dad clenched his jaw. I wasn't done. Everything's archived, I said calmly. Emails, bank logs, audio. It's all live now. I pointed to the gift-wrapped box Amanda had mocked, tied to the ribbon. A card. That site? Launched 10 minutes before I walked in. Public, searchable, shareable. Dad lunged toward me. Not a full punch. Too much ego. Just enough to be theatrical. He shouted something that didn't even form into words. Rage in raw form. Amanda's champagne glass shattered on the tile. Mom collapsed into a chair, eyes darting, already calculating PR fallout. I stepped back, calm, centered. They wanted to silence me for years. Now they couldn't drown me out if they tried. Dad's face was red, bulging. You think this makes you a man? I didn't flinch. No, I said. Surviving your cruelty did. He stepped closer, breathing hard. You just ruined your sister's engagement. No, I said again. She did, when she built it on fraud. Mom was sobbing now. That soft, pathetic kind of sob reserved for people who only cry when consequences knock. How could you do this to us? She whimpered. I turned, looked her right in the eyes. To you. You buried me, Mom. All I did was come back for the headstone. Amanda moved. A stumble of fury. Tried to snatch the mic. Or slap me. Or maybe both. Someone in the crowd grabbed her arm. A woman in a red dress said, "We heard what you said. You should sit down." Power shifted in that room. It was subtle, but it was seismic. They weren't royalty anymore. Just frauds in expensive shoes. Dad tried one last dig. You're nothing. A petty, broken little boy. I stepped closer, not with anger, with clarity. No, I'm your son. The one you left in the rain. The one you robbed blind. The one who's still standing. For the first time in my life, he had no comeback. Exit wounds and an open door. I didn't linger, didn't wait for the next blow. I turned, walked past the canapes, past the shocked guests, down the polished hallway that smelled like fake citrus and lies. The driveway stretched before me like a scene I'd lived 100 times in my mind, but tonight, I wasn't limping. I wasn't crying. I wasn't alone. I was whole. Behind me, chaos bloomed, the sound of raised voices, a shout, a door slammed. I kept walking, and then... Daniel, wait. A voice I hadn't heard in years. I turned. It was Aunt Celia, Mom's sister, the one who never picked sides, who moved across the state and stayed quiet. She looked older, softer, eyes kind. I knew something wasn't right, she said. I should have done something. She handed me a card, a lawyer's name. They might owe you more than an apology. I nodded, took it, but I didn't come here for money. I came for liberation, and I got it. Healing isn't clean, but it's mine. A month passed, the website exploded, viral threads, hashtags, reaction videos. Amanda lost her promotion. Her fiancé ghosted her. Dad lost his advisory role with a private defense firm. Mom gave a press statement so drenched in fake tears it should have won an Emmy. And me? I moved, a studio apartment with cracked walls and a view of a parking lot. But it was mine, and quiet, and safe. I enrolled in night school again. Psychology. Fitting, right? Not to understand them, to understand why I ever thought I needed their love to be whole. One night, I got a letter. No return address. Inside. I can't undo what I did, but I hope someday you let go of the hate, not for me, but for yourself. I was wrong, and I see that now. Mom. I read it twice, then I burned it. Not in anger, but in freedom. Forgiveness isn't always an invitation. Sometimes it's a locked door, and me, I'm already walking forward, and I won't look back. If you were Daniel, what would you have done? Would you expose your family's lies? Would you fight back, or walk away? Tell us in the comments. Was the revenge justified, or did it go too far? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with someone who needs to hear this. Remember, revenge isn't about hurting back. It's about healing forward.